5, 6, 7, 8.
Call out the counts. Yelling in general just keeps the energy up. I'm Nina McNeely, and I'm the choreographer for the television show The Idol. I'm pretty sure that my connection with The Weeknd is what landed me on The Idol. I first started working with Abel because he's a fan of Gaspar Noé, and I choreographed the film Climax. In my conversations with Sam and Abel and Lily, and after reading the script, I started to really understand what kind of pop star Jocelyn was. She's a former child star. She was at the pinnacle of her fame, then went through a rough patch and had a mental breakdown. On The Idol, I got an opportunity to work with Lily one-on-one before we even started working on the material, which is really nice. Honestly, we only ever get a couple of rehearsals and the shoot day. So that was awesome. She's not a trained dancer. She's an amazing model, though, and has an amazing facility for dance. For the acting part, too, they were supposed to hire an actor to play the choreographer, and then they just called me one day and asked if I would do it. I was very close to saying no. But then I thought, why not? When else are you going to get this opportunity? I really felt like I did represent who I really am. All right, let's go. This is the one. Poses. In the rehearsal scene, that's her big comeback. There's an insane amount of pressure on her. She had canceled tours. She needs to get that money back. She needs to top the charts. We wanted to incorporate some foreshadowing of the overall narrative and some symbolism behind her character and her experience as a pop star. Since she's having her comeback, she really needs to push the boundaries beyond what she did before, and she needs to be more daring, more sexy, more controversial, and more confident.
I want to be taken seriously.
Why?
Because I do.
But why?
Because I want to have a career that lasts and is meaningful.
I personally went through and thought about what are some of the most iconic dance moments and pop moments that I wanted to pull from. I started all the way back with Take Off With Us by Bob Fosse. I was looking at Paula Abdul's Cold Hearted Snake. I was watching Showgirls and of course Brittney's Slave for You. I wanted to have some kind of tongue-in-cheek or slightly cliche pop star moves. So the lick just kind of came out of nowhere, and then I was well, if you're going to lick it, then you also need to spank it.
Yes, lick it, spank it, drop it,
For our vertical screen for TikTok, dances have just gotten a bit smaller and easier to do, so that people can do it at home. I think it's more interesting and more timeless for it to be something that's more difficult or needs a lot of bodies to accomplish or needs a lot of rehearsal. I just wanted to dive into that and push Lily as far as I could in that department to really get something iconic. I knew that she needed to basically be this untouchable object of desire where everybody wants to be with her, everyone wants to be her, everyone wants to know her. So I kind of used the dancers to tell that story, pushing the boundaries of what's appropriate and inappropriate and what's taboo and what's not. When all the dancers are around her and they're kind of breathing and pulsing as a unit, and each dancer's turning her head and vying for her attention, they're basically breathing each other's breath, and I feel that just created a lot of sexual tension that we needed. To foreshadow the show and the narrative, I wanted to play with this push and pull and power play between her and the dancers, where she's kind of getting pulled in different directions and lifted and spun around. And the next breath, she can do a small gesture that controls all of them. So it's getting manipulated and manipulating, which has a lot to do with her character throughout the show. We were going to be all in rehearsal clothes, and we needed to be because it was a rehearsal, but I don't think anyone was ready for what Lily's rehearsal outfit was going to be, which was honestly iconic, that tiny little bra and that little skirt short situation. That's always a thing that is an issue, is that you rehearse in this outfit that's really comfortable and shoes that are comfortable, and then when it's shoot day, you're in this ridiculous look and stilettos where you can barely move. The artist is I can't do the moves, and usually we have to modify it because it doesn't work with what they did in rehearsal, which is disappointing as a choreographer because they're killing it in rehearsal, and then all these restrictions come into play at the actual shoot. That day was really crazy too, because Sam just kept shooting and shooting, and we just kept reloading and reloading. There weren't a lot of cuts. So it started to get really surreal of like what was real and what was not. World Class Sinner, there's the goddess lift is what I was calling it, where she's like on her back with her leg in a passe. And then we also had the Jesus lift, because the World Class Sinner, I wanted to make sure there was still some kind of tongue-in-cheek religious symbolic motifs throughout. They like do the sign of the cross and lift her like Christ and pray around her. Instead of creating something completely new, you can do a lot with taking something that like the viewer's already familiar with and just changing it a little bit. In World Class Sinner, they do one section, and then the second time they do it, it's like the slow motion version. But I definitely wanted to play with some tropes of pop. I did want to make her feel like the centerpiece. I love doing like kind of symmetrical blossoming tableau. She kind of just felt like Venus to me. Having her kind of be like shy and coy sometimes and then being really explosive. And I like the idea of like hiding her and revealing her. It was important for her to get partner lifts where they're like picking her up and spinning around, because I knew that once we got to the music video, there needed to be some things that looked like painful or like she didn't want to do again. Foreshadowing of the narrative throughout of like, she's just never alone. She always has hands all over her. She always has eyes on her. She just never gets any peace. One of the first times we like got into Abel's house and we're looking at where we were going to do some different things, they really wanted to do something in that room in front of the fireplace. It's always exciting, instead of just having a blank space or a stage, to have like a room with furniture to play with. It was fun to start with her like behind the curtain and sneak out and then run to this couch and throw herself on the floor, then light a cigarette and throw it in the fireplace. Like that, doing something site specific is always really exciting. For Dollhouse, there's so many layers to it. She's showing her new music for the first time, and she's trying to get her tour back. Probably the best way to do that is by being as seductive as humanly possible. And they really wanted to play with this idea of like possession. So we're starting to see like flashes of her, like who she truly is under the surface. And I wanted to play with like the themes of the song are like, I'm like this perfect doll, like there's a price on my head, I always have to be perfect. So that was fun artistically to play with, like now you're like a Stepford wife and you do all these nice sweet poses, and then you're kind of like vacantly staring into nothing. And then you're writhing on the ground like you're possessed, and then you switch to be really like coy and shy with all these lyrics about daddy. There's also something like dark and a bit sad about that also, because she's been a product since she's been a child, but she's also kind of a bit of a manipulator as well. So I think we really explored like, how far can we push this? I think for me, like as an artist, I just really wanted to make sure that the best moments were coming across, that they were getting captured, which I totally trust Sam, and he always uses the best cinematographers. And of course, it was like beyond my wildest dreams.